Hey everyone, Tim here from QBKing77.com, here to do a full review video of the Google Nexus 4 made by LG. Finally getting around to a review video. I know a lot of you guys are waiting for your shipments to come. If you ordered the Nexus 4, I know Google is backed up on shipping out their devices, so I'm sure a lot of people are waiting very patiently for their devices, or impatiently. But anyways, you have two variants to choose from: a $300 variant which has 8 gigabytes of internal storage, or a $350 variant that has 16 gigabytes of internal storage. It does not have a micro SD card slot, so you cannot expand that memory, which is kind of a bummer. Design wise, it has a really nice design. I really like it actually. It's flat on both sides, so it's definitely a more flat device. It has really no curve to it. Anyways, though, you have the same design with the 2 buttons on the left side, 1 button on the right. It's very similar to the Galaxy Nexus device up on the top. You have a headphone jack, 3.5mm headphone jack. And down at the bottom you have a micro USB cable slot to charge your device. On the back you've got a speaker in the bottom right hand corner. You have an 8 megapixel camera with a flash. You'll also notice on the back that there is more of kind of a sparkly feel to it, where it's everywhere on the back. It's really neat actually. Depending on where the light hits it, the sparkles do kind of change. Hopefully you guys can tell with the video how that looks, but it's very nice. On the front you have that 4.7-inch display, 1.3 megapixel front facing camera as well, and you also have sensors in the upper left hand corner there. I am most likely going to have this turn into a 2-part video, as most of my review videos do become, just due to the fact that I like to really get in depth and talk about various things. But anyways, part 1 will generally be about hardware and various things. I might run some benchmarks in part 1 or part 2, I haven't decided yet, but part 2 is more on the software side of things. So that's just kind of an overview of what I will cover, but let's go ahead and get into more detail. You've also got a nice little LED light there that flashes when you get a notification. Alright, and here's an up-close and personal look at the Nexus 4. Honestly, I really do enjoy the design of it, the more flat feel to it. I like it a lot. It feels great in your hand, definitely not difficult to hold on to. You do not have any capacitive buttons at all on-screen buttons right down here, which is what Google and Android has been all about, getting rid of those capacitive buttons and just making them all on-screen. It's good if you run custom ROMs because it gives you that much more screen space. Speaking of the screen, you have a 4.7-inch WXGA IPS display. It is 1280 by 720 and 320p PI pixels per inch, it's a really great display. Honestly, I love it. The only time I'm not too big of a fan of it is when you're outside. You can sometimes see those little pixels down in the background. I don't know if they're called pixels, but whatever the hardware is that lights shows the lights, you can see them. It's not too big of a deal, just because it has to be at a very specific angle for it to show up outside. But overall, it's a really great display. I wouldn't take what I said and make that want you to go against the Nexus 4 at all, because overall the display is fantastic. It does mostly have plastic on the sides and around it. It does have Corning Gorilla Glass 2, which is great, but one downside to it is on the back. It is pretty much all glass right here, and it does break very easy, so you definitely want to keep that in mind. I know a good deal of people that have dropped their device and this back has cracked, a small hairline crack or anything, so just kind of keep that in mind. Maybe think about a case or something like that, just because of the glass on the back. Not too sure why they made so much glass with this back. Again, not too much with protection. They do sell bumpers, which I believe this is why, because of the glass in the Play Store, but they're generally all sold out, just like these devices themselves. They're always sold out anyways. Inside the device you have 2 gigabytes of RAM and also a Qualcomm Snapdragon S4 Pro processor running at 1.5 gigahertz. These two combined make for an extremely fast device. Honestly, this is the smoothest Android device I've used yet. with Android 4.2 Jelly Bean. It really runs well. It handles games, apps, everything with ease, and multitasking is fantastic as well. Going through, switching between various applications, it really has no lag whatsoever. If I wanted to open up the camera and then quickly go to something like YouTube, open them all up, it really quickly goes in between them. And of course, you've got the multitasking functions where it keeps it open in the background unless you want to close it out, where you can just kind of swipe it away, and it kind of removes it from that background processing. As I said, 8 megapixel camera on the back with an LED flash. The camera takes very good pictures, actually. It's definitely a step up from the Galaxy Nexus. I was not pleased with the Galaxy Nexus's camera, but with the Nexus 4, you definitely see a vast improvement. I took some pictures. I'm going to post them in my article at QBking77.com, so you can check that out there. I wanted you guys to get a good look at some of the images that can be taken with the Nexus 4. So there's that. Also a 1.3 megapixel front-facing camera. Nothing special. Of course, front-facing cameras generally don't have that many megapixels, that good of quality, but it does record in 720p, I believe, and on the back it records in 1080p. I have a test video recording using the back camera. I can go ahead and post that in the description. It's actually a good one. The image stabilizer is not that great with the video recording, so just kind of keep that in mind. If you do a lot of video recording with your phone, you might want to check out that test video that I made. As I said, the design is very similar to the Galaxy Nexus being on the right, Nexus 4 being on the left. When you turn it, you will see the Galaxy Nexus does have more of a curved design to it. The Nexus 4, as I said, is flat and straight on the back. Of course, much different. You got more of a texture feel to it on the back, and then you got a smooth back on the Nexus 4. Otherwise, though, definitely design-wise, they've kept the same buttons as I mentioned. On the right, the power button as well. It's good they're going with the same form factor. However, they did switch the headphone jack from the bottom to the top of the device, so that's just a little bit of different. Again, they're different manufacturers, Galaxy Nexus being Samsung, Nexus 4 being LG. It does come complete with NFC, where you can touch the backs of the two devices and share a file, a web page, all that good stuff, an image, a music file, just anything. So NFC is a really great tool, especially if you have a friend or a family member that does have another device with NFC built in. In the United States, it's only sold on one network, and that network would be T-Mobile. That would be it. So it is capable with AT&T as well. However, you only get 3G speeds on AT&T. However, you can use HSPA Plus with the T-Mobile network. So this device is unlocked. It does not have LTE capabilities, which is a downside for many people, especially if you're on a US carrier, Sprint, Verizon, something like that. You cannot take advantage of any LTE speeds. However, HSPA Plus can get very good speeds. If you do use T-Mobile's network, I know I have a friend, his name's Tim actually, he boasts about the good speeds on T-Mobile where he's at. So it kind of depends on your area. If you get good T-Mobile speed, you might want to consider switching to T-Mobile and getting the Nexus 4. However, again, LTE is generally faster than HSPA Plus. But also, T-Mobile is generally cheaper than any other network with LTE. So you kind of do get what you pay for. But if you are on an international network as well, of course, they use GSM networks. So you really don't have to worry about anything with carriers or anything like that, which is the way Google, I think, wants things to turn out with unlocked phones and using GSM networks. It seems like that's what they're generally pushing. The device has wireless charging capabilities where you can put the device on generally like a touchstone charger with the palms. That actually costs a little bit more to get one of those wireless chargers, but it does have the capability for that. I do not have one, but I definitely know that it does have that capability. And also, speaking of battery, it does have a 2100 milliamp hour battery, which is not removable. So for some reason have chosen to make this battery non-removable. I know the Galaxy Nexus was removable, so you could get expanded batteries, or I mean just multiple batteries so you can switch things out. But they have definitely improved battery life with the Nexus 4. I have actually been able to last all day. I had a friend that had a micro SIM card, so I put that in for a day or two and tried it out, and battery life was very good on T-Mobile's network. So definitely a device that you don't necessarily have to worry about battery life, because battery life has been very good for me. I would say it lasts probably about 12 hours. So just kind of keep that in mind, 12 to 14 hours, depending on your usage. I use it a lot, actually. I use it a lot for watching videos, playing games, also making calls, text messaging. So generally, I pretty much use all the features available for the device: gaming, social media, email, web browsing, all that good stuff. So generally, battery life has been good. I like to think that I'm a heavy user when it comes to battery life, especially because I'm not always on Wi-Fi. I do use mobile data a lot. One last thing, it does have slim port HDMI, which is an adapter where you can plug it in down here and then it switches to an HDMI adapter. So that's something you can do if you like HDMI out on your television. Overall though, this hardware is top of the line. You really can't go wrong with this quad-core processor, 2 gigabytes of RAM. The screen is fantastic. The colors really pop. I really enjoy the screen. It could actually be one of my favorite screens on any mobile device. This is definitely a contender for my favorite Android phone out there right now, actually. So if that gives you a good idea, especially compared to the Note 2, the S3, it's definitely a contender. But anyways, I wanted to go ahead and show you that hardware. I just rebooted my device. I'm going to go ahead and run a quadrant standard benchmark just to let you guys see the full power of this hardware. So let it run through the test, let it do a CPU test, memory, graphics. The graphic tests are what people like to see, especially so you can see how smooth graphics are. After I run these benchmarks, I'm actually going to go ahead and play a game for you guys so you can see how smooth that is. I just wanted to let you guys know that opening and closing applications, multitasking has always been smooth for me. I really haven't had very much lag, really none at all when opening and closing applications. Opening them up has always been smooth. Even on a fresh reboot, just clicking on the application, letting it open up, you will see that it's just really smooth. Right here, I love the Planet one just because sometimes you can see some little distortion, but you really can't. It's looking fantastic running that test. So really great. It's handling it well. Graphics look great on pretty much every game that you play. So here we go. So it says, do you want to proceed? I'm going to hit yes. It's going to send the results. You'll see 4966. So almost 5,000 there on the quadrant standard above the HTC One X. So you'll see it's above all the devices on there. We can go ahead and back out of that. I also wanted to run in Antutu benchmark. So you can do this on your device as well. So if you wanted to compare, again, I highly recommend being on stock as opposed to a custom ROM if you are running and comparing these benchmarks. So just go ahead and hit start test. It says it may take several minutes. It shouldn't take that long, but it does take a bit of time, so I might skip through with this video. It's going to go ahead and test the CPU and the memory. Alright, it's now doing some graphic testing. I did run through and test the CPU, but again, that was just a progress bar, so I figured you guys didn't want to watch that. But here's some graphic looks, just so you can see how smooth running through these graphics are. It definitely handles all of these tests well. I can try and get you the full screen so you can see it in action. Here's another one where you can see the frames per second going on. Here's a new one. I don't think I've seen this one before. They must have updated the application. But overall, looks really good. A bunch of stuff going on in here. A bunch of random stuff, actually. Okay, so it looks like it's just about finishing up. Testing SD card write speed. Okay, finished up. You'll see total score 17,870. So another very good score with the Antutu benchmark. Again, you can definitely go ahead and compare it with your device. You also notice that it definitely had a very good GPU score of 8198. So when I go home, I wanted to go ahead and run a game real quick so we can try Beach Buggy Blitz, just so you can see it loading up and just gameplay. It's definitely a game that is pretty graphic intensive. You'll see that we can go ahead and have the sound up. With this speaker, I did want to make a note. I guess it is a hardware feature. The speaker is fantastic. Honestly, I don't ever really talk about the speaker on devices. Usually I'll say it's a pretty standard speaker, but this one's definitely above average. So if you're someone that likes to listen to music or different sounds out of the speaker, this is a very good option because the noise out of the speaker is great. So I'm just going to go ahead and hit play real quick. and play the game. I don't know if you guys have played Beach Buggy Blitz yet. It's actually really fun. You might want to check it out. Kind of difficult through this camera, but anyways, I'm sure you guys can tell how good the speaker's sounding. Running through, you'll see it's very smooth. You'll see if I splash in water. I think I will here. Yeah, so looks very good. Don't running through that water. Usually that's pretty graphic intensive. Some very nice 3D graphics as well, running into stuff, going into water. I'm just kind of giving you guys a good idea of what it looks like. But that's really about all I wanted to show you. So I can hit home real quick. If I go home, you'll see how quickly that exited out of it. And then if I wanted to go back into it, it's just paused. And then again, when you hit that home button, it really exits right away out of it. So it's really smooth. I mean, the hardware is great. It definitely handles the operating system well. So that's something they complement each other very well. So that's just about it for the hardware that I did want to talk about. Overall, it is a bummer that it has no LTE. Also, having a non-removable battery and no micro SD card slot are definitely a downside to the device. But again, you got to think about the price point. You also have to think about what Google's stand is on various things, again, such as carriers and LTE and all that good stuff. But overall, hopefully this gave you a good idea of hardware. Now, next, in part 2, I'm going to talk about the software. So definitely check that out. I go over so many different things. I'll talk about the camera, the photosphere. You're going to want to see that. Also post various images and such in my article at qbking77.com. So you can check out my website as well. You can be sure to subscribe to me, follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Google+. All links will be in the description of the video below. And as always, thanks for watching. Be sure to give this video a thumbs up.